How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees with your boys, Alex and Ryan. So today we're talking about an overarching concept behind the front office. And as we know, Hal Steinbrenner sent a warning shot that we're going to see some stuff in September. And we did. We saw some prospects elevate their game and make some impacts. And shout out Austin Wells. The dude has been mashing since we talked about him as a potential guy on this team, like a actual impact player. I've actually, I think, Ryan, you're in the same boat as I am. We're starting to think about him not just as Jose Trevino's backup, but as the starter and Trevino backing him up and being Garrett Cole's personal catcher. There's some interesting things developing here with the catcher position, but I'll tell you what. There's some big free agents this upcoming offseason. I want to talk about Shohei Ohtani and some, recent news that just came out about, who's going to be in the sweepstakes for Ohtani. Should the Yankees be in it? And if they aren't, where should that money be going else anyway? Where should that money be allocated to, and how can they navigate this offseason without taking substantial risks? Now, we know Ohtani's just coming off Tommy John surgery, or he really just had the surgery. So, we're looking, I don't even know if he's actually had it yet, but he's going to be out until 2025 in terms of his pitching. He's going to be able to hit next year, but as a pitcher, he's going to miss a full season. Now, you're getting a player who is still an elite offensive weapon. Now, he's going to be your DH. So, the Yankees bringing in a player like that as a DH. You still have Stanton under contract, who basically fills that spot. So right off the bat, there's a little bit of a logjam there. How would you navigate that? We can discuss that hypothetically. But at the same time, are you better off investing more money, or really the money that we do have, in guys that are specifically pitchers, upgrading the rotation? Or are we going to upgrade the batting order? How can we reallocate things to make this a little bit more efficient for what the Yankees need? But Ryan, how you doing today, my friend? Thoughts on Shohei Ohtani? Thoughts on the Yankees even being a suitor for him this upcoming free agency period?
Yeah, no, I mean, first off, I don't know how interested Shohei Ohtani is in the East Coast. Now, that's kind of always been a thing with Shohei. And I know that some people are going to chalk it up to like, oh, he doesn't want to win, this and that. But like, let's be real here. His native country is Japan, right? And if you think of ease of travel, going from the West Coast to Japan is a lot more feasible than going from the East Coast to Japan. You have to do that cross-country flight from all the way from New York across the country, and then you have to cross the Pacific Ocean. That's just a lot to ask. So, that's obviously something that is going to play a factor here. As you mentioned, Shohei Ohtani, I think he already went under the knife for the surgery, but it doesn't matter. He's not pitching in 2024. And that's going to affect how, a team that's you perceive in a win now mode is going to pursue Shohei Ohtani. I almost think this kind of plays into the Mets' hands if you think about it, because they might not be in a position to, go out and win the World Series in 2024. The Yankees will, or you hope the Yankees will, or that's their goal. I'm going to just preface it with that. But the big thing with the Yankees and kind of their logjam at DH is that they have Giancarlo Stanton there, right? Like I know that I'm not saying Giancarlo Stanton should stop you from signing Shohei Ohtani, but Giancarlo Stanton with an Aaron Judge that is probably going to need to start DHing in the next 5 years. And then Ohtani's not going to be pitching. And if his elbow, this is his second, UCL, like in that area, it's his second reconstruction of that ligament in the last, I believe, 3 or 4 years. That's concerning, right? Two-time Tommy John guys, not that they don't come back or that they're incapable of, being competent pitchers or staying healthy, but it's a huge risk. And, Alex, one of the big things that I think the Yankees are going to try to stay away from is getting guys who they don't think can, reliably pitch for them or reliably play for them, or at least avoid giving those long-term investments. Giancarlo Stanton, when he was signed, when he was traded for, was the reigning NL MVP. He had like 54 career defensive runs saved, a stud defensive outfielder, 75th percentile in sprint speed in his first year with the Yankees. So a fast dude, crushed the baseball. Really the only big injury thing that happened to him was getting hit in the face with a ball. So you just assumed he'd be, good for 130, 140 games. And he played the field every single day in the NL because they didn't have a DH. So you assumed DHing him more would keep him healthier. You just kind of assumed that would go well for you. And that shouldn't stop you from signing big free agents. You shouldn't feel as if, you shouldn't feel as if big contracts are a bad thing for the Yankees. But the Yankees are clearly working within, a finite set of resources. Hal Steinbrenner is not just throwing at money at everything that moves. If that was the case, Bryce Harper would be a Yankee right now. So, given that the Yankees aren't going to have the DH spot open, given that Shohei Ohtani may not even want to play in the East Coast, those odds don't look great on paper. Now, as a talent, as a player, would he help the Yankees? I mean, Alex, come on, like, could you imagine him and Aaron Judge back to back? I don't even have to say anything, right? Like, I feel like that kind of goes without saying, but the question is, is the fit going to be great? Is the long-term projection going to be great? And most importantly, does Shohei Ohtani want to be here? And that's going to be, that already puts you behind the 8 ball in terms of odds of landing Ohtani.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. So let's say the chances of the Yankees actually being involved in this sweepstakes are like 15-20%. I think we're just going to hear the rumors. We're going to hear the Yankees are checking up. Like, we're going to go through the whole kind of motions here in terms of what the Yankees normally do and the rumors that come out during the winter months. But from a logical perspective, Ohtani, yes. I mean, he would sell more seats than anyone, Judge included. Like, he's a guy that brings an international amount of people to the stage of what is a already international organization. He brings an entire country with him, basically. So, when you actually look at him as a profitable resource, a profitable asset, you're going to get your money back. Ohtani's going to return the money. The question is, as you said, he doesn't even want to come to the East Coast. So we're looking at him probably going to the Dodgers and making them a super team. And now we're trying to figure out how to beat the Dodgers. And, we can't even beat the freaking Angels sometimes. So it's a tough situation to be in right now as a Yankee fan. But I'll tell you this. If you can go out and take the $500 million it's going to take to get Ohtani, and you can spread that wealth around, you can reinvest that money to bolster multiple areas of weakness on this team, right? The Yankees you guys are seeing Michael King right now. He looks like a top 3 starting pitcher on this team. Like, it could be Garrett Cole, Rodon, Michael King. Like, that could be the rotation in terms of like a playoff scenario. That would be the 3 guys you would choose right now. Now, if the Yankees say, okay, we're going to take that money that we give to Ohtani, and we're going to say, okay, you know what? Let's go get Yamamoto. We'll spend $150 million there. I don't know exactly how much it'll be, but somewhere in that ballpark range, I'd imagine. So $150 million on Yamamoto, who is 25 years old, durable, extremely experienced at this point in time in terms of his time with the Japanese leagues. So, you bring Yamamoto overseas, hopefully he transitions into a great player for the Yankees, and you dip your hand back into the international pool, and you bring in some diversified assets here that's not just, going and getting these like same old aging players with massive price tags and guys that have injury-prone situations, lagging behind. You bring in some guys that are durable, and I think that's like that diversity that we need, because like we don't have a lot of durable guys, and Yamamoto is durable. So I like that signing there if we can go after him and get him. Now, the offensive pieces are going to be a little bit harder to come by. This upcoming free agency class is pretty thin to some degree. Cody Bellinger, the drop-off behind him, is pretty significant. So, you look at what the Yankees really can do, maybe you look to the trade market. If you go get Yamamoto and you have a rotation that looks like Garrett Cole, Rodon, Yamamoto, Michael King, you got Clark Schmidt, you have some young guys coming up. You got Drew Thorpe, who's getting close. Brito. You have Vasquez. I mean, you have some guys here who could supplement. Maybe you bring back Montas or Severino on a cheaper deal. And you have Nestor Cortez as well. So you have a good group of players right there. But Ryan, how would you see the balance of this going? If you were able to make these decisions right now, if it was up to you, how would you take all this money that you perceivably have and divvy it up to, allocating towards a pitcher, and then also grabbing guys that, to bolster the offense? Do you think the Yankees are going to have to go the trade route more so than the free agency route? Because you could find some decent pieces, but is there anyone out there that you think can really change the nature of this lineup, that we don't have to spend an exorbitant amount on?
Yeah, so I think the big thing that this team really has going for them is their pitching. And, I think that's been the case, really for the last 3 years. Their pitching has been excellent. And the large part of that is due to Matt Blake at the major league level and Sam Breen at the overall organizational level. He's the director of pitching. I had this kind of like floated to me in a way that I think makes a lot of sense and I thought was important to mention on this podcast. Alex, you've heard a lot about, like Dylan Loss, like they were looking to move on from him in the offseason. And, with the, analytics department, like, are they really at the forefront of innovation? Are they communicating properly? Sean Casey was brought in seemingly to communicate and kind of relate to the players a little bit more. but you haven't heard a peep from the pitching side of things. And that's a good thing, Alex. Like, that's a really good thing, that it's just, there are no complaints about how things are going there, how the coaching philosophy, what they have in terms of what they believe in down there. In that department, things are really sound. So you really just feel like you need to get to just an acceptable point with their offense. I tweeted this out yesterday. The Yankees would have a 91 expected wins for 162 game season if they were just 10th in runs scored this year. 10th, Alex, 10th. I mean, it doesn't take you don't have to be the best organization in baseball to get to 10th in runs scored. Hell, the team that's 10th in runs scored, the Cincinnati Reds, has a 96 WRC plus. They are just a really good base running team that can hit some home runs and get the job done. And that's kind of what the Yankees just need to be offensively. Hit some home runs, make some dynamic plays, come up with a big play here or there, hope that those home runs come in the right moments come October. And, you have the pitching staff to do it. We saw yesterday, as you mentioned with Michael King, right? Like, Michael King didn't even have it. He walked 5 guys. He struck out 5 guys. He was giving the Blue Jays free passes, but when it came down to, hey, big moment, he's facing Vlad down 3-0 in the count, sinker, and Austin Wells behind the plate. Phenomenal job. Just working his tail off behind that plate. Has not worked with Michael King extensively. Has worked with Brito a little bit, but not extensively. Clay Holmes, that's completely guy he's never seen pitch before or never caught before, and it's just seamless, man. And that pitching staff, shout out Tanner Swanson, the coaching coordinator as well, because the preparation, like the Yankees have never had problems at the catching position. Despite the kind of the turnstile of catch they've had in the departure of Gary Sanchez. Rortvet's been behind there. Eric Kratz in 2020 I know was there, but that's a little bit beforehand. They had Rob Brantley there for a couple games last year. Obviously Jose Trevino and Kyle Higashioka, just great defensive players. But the foundation is there from the pitching side of things. They don't need to spend too much on the pitching if they don't want to. But if Yoshinobu Yamamoto, which it looks like they might be all in on that, that'll make a lot of sense for this rotation. They just need somebody to give them innings, right? You feel like if you have him and Cole at the top and those guys are going to give you innings, you just got to figure it out the rest of the 3 guys. Rodon, Cortez, and King, just figure it out with them. You have Schmidt in there. Does Schmidt become expendable? Johnny Brito, shout out Johnny Brito for the work he's done as well and the progression he's made throughout the season. Kind of an afterthought in mid-June has become a really good reliever for this team. It's just a matter of, all right, let's take our money and let's go out and buy bats. And over the offseason, hey, this third-party audit, let's go out and revamp our hitting development. Let's find the equivalent to a Matt Blake for our hitting coach. Maybe the communication side of things, Sean Casey does it so well that he can stick around. But the director of hitting, their current director of hitting, I think he does an excellent job. But the guys that are involved in strategizing and explaining this to major league players are just not doing the right job, or it's just not getting through. And another thing too, we can talk about coaching, development, all that stuff. It also comes down to the players, right? Like, is Giancarlo Stanton good if he goes to the Dodgers? I don't think so, right? Like, I think it's a matter of like, hey, a lot of these guys have to kind of change what they're doing. They can't handle velocity. They're getting older. As you mentioned, we kind of have to start departing from these old high variance, high risk. If things go right, I did an interview with a former investigative reporter in Bradford, William Davis. He actually was the guy who talked about the Goldilocks ball. I don't know if you remember that whole thing with the changing baseballs last year. And he specifically mentioned like the Yankees kind of need to just build a roster. Like, yeah, this is that upper echelon, top tier, just high, low variance, high upside roster that you can totally build when you're up billion-dollar operation, right? That comes down, and that starts with the owner, that boils down to the general manager, that boils down to your player development, that boils down to your analytics department. Everybody in that organization is going to shoulder some blame for this season, but they're not too far away from being great. And I think that's kind of my big takeaway here. I know that's a very wordy way of saying this, but they're just not that far away from being great. They're this close, I think. It's just a matter of finally making those correct moves and making those correct adjustments.
I wish it was that easy, I wish it was as easy as like, we're that close, like we could do this. But that's the truth though. When you're a $1 billion industry, you have $280 million in payroll. It shouldn't be this difficult, but it is. And that's kind of I guess that's what we're going to find out this offseason with this third party coming in and trying to find the root causes of a lot of these issues and shortcomings. But at the end of the day, we know this team has the resources to turn it around. Like, we know there's a way back, and it could happen pretty fast. I don't think that they're going to let that kind of opportunity slip by them. I think that they're going to attack that. They're going to act. They're going to make some changes, make some moves, and we're going to be right back in the mix next year. And I imagine that will be the case, and that's why they're letting kind of Cashman and Boone survive this. But if it next year rolls around and then there's even worse results or similar results, then we're going to have the conversation like, okay, Boone and Cashman actually could be gone. I don't think many people actually believe they would be, even if they wanted them to believe. I think that most people, logically assume that they would be around for next season. I think Steinbrenner's giving them that benefit of the doubt that this was just an anomaly in a much larger grand scheme of things, but a lot of bad moves. There's a reason Steinbrenner stepped in at the deadline and said, we're not trading anybody and we're not trading for anybody. He shut the whole thing down and Cashman was looking. So, the fact that the owner stepped in and made a big decision there said to me, there were changes to be made. And in fact, I think Steinbrenner had a pretty big say in what was going on during the second half of the season, because he said, we're going to see a lot of we're going to learn a lot in September, right? We're going to learn a lot in September. And I think that wasn't about, we're going to learn if this team can make the playoffs. I think this was more about, we're going to learn what the prospects can do. I think that's what he was hinting at. And we saw, Dominguez is a future starter in the outfield for this team. Wells could be a future starter at catcher. Pereira could be a solid reserve for now, if not develop into a starter. Esteban Florial, maybe there's even value there. Oswald Peraza could be a starting infielder next year. There's value, like across the board with some of these youngsters, and I'm excited to see what they can do. But I'll tell you what, when the owner, Steinbrenner, which we haven't seen him do this in a long time, step in like this and take control, take the reins like his dad did at some point in time, that says to me that there's shit is hitting the fan, and like they needed to make changes, and he had to take the power out of the decision makers to allow this team to reset. So curious to see how this offseason goes. We'll keep you guys updated, obviously, on any new developments. Make sure to like and subscribe as always, and we'll catch you guys on the next Fireside Yankees episode.